election. Now, this year's poll is a tight race for the candidates. We have former President Donald Trump who is seeking a return to the White House after an unsuccessful attempt for his second term 4 years ago, and is flying the Republican flag. Now, for the Democrat, it is the Vice President Kamala Harris, creating another possibility of a first female president of America after the 2016 attempt by Hillary Clinton. The last 24 hours have seen the candidates wrap up their campaigns. We have more details in this report.
It's decision day in the United States of America. Americans are heading to the polls to vote for their next president. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump each need at least 270 electoral votes to win. The battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin are expected to be pivotal to their path to victory. Harris and Trump tied with 3 votes each in the tiny New Hampshire community of Dixville Notch, which opened and closed its poll just after midnight ET in a decades-old tradition. The candidates held their final campaign event in battleground states last night. Kamala Harris ended a 107-day campaign in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, calling on voters to exercise their rights.
Because we need everyone to vote Pennsylvania. You will make the difference in this election. So one last time, Pittsburgh, I ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. God bless you.
Donald Trump spoke in North Carolina, Michigan, and Pittsburgh, where he ended 3 of his presidential campaigns.
She tried to get stars to come in, and they wouldn't do it, actually. She'd go and get Beyonce. No. Everyone's expecting a couple of songs. And there were no songs, there was no happiness. It's just like, give me my check, I want to get out of here. But you always put the star, she should have learned this from Crooked Hillary, always put the star after you. That way the people stay. Finish your speech, let the star, and even if she doesn't sing, they booed like hell, but Press didn't play that. They booed both of them the hell out of the stadium. But you know what? Even though the act was terrible, it's like by that time you're out of the building, like Elvis had left the building. Elvis has left the building. Now it's terrible. They obviously forgot to get a star tonight, but we don't need a star.
Talking security, Brigadier General Patrick Ryder says the Department of Defense stands prepared to support state and local authorities on Election Day.
Of note, Secretary Austin approved a request last week from the District of Columbia for D.C. National Guard troops to support the D.C. Fire and Emergency Medical Services from November 5 through 13. For those of you who have covered the defense beat for a while, you know that it is routine practice for the DoD to authorize the D.C. National Guard to support or augment security for large-scale events in the district, and activated guardsmen will remain under the command and control of the D.C. National Guard.
With millions of American citizens headed to the polls, and some others who had voted before Election Day, the question to be answered is, who becomes the next president of the United States of America?
Well, I have joining me once again TVC News senior reporter Habida Lawal, live for us in the United States. Habida, thank you for joining us on the news at this time. Well, and also joining me is Global Affairs Analyst Boye Akioku. Thank you for joining us on The World Now.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Right. I would say happy election. So let's start with the key battleground states like Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, and, Nevada. What are the implications of Democratic or Republican victory in some of the states? Right, I'll be going back to Habida. Habida, talk to us. What's the weather like in America today?
Well, it's been raining and bright morning here in the city of Austin in Texas, and voters are quite enthusiastic to cast their votes this morning as early as 7 a.m. A lot of the electorate are out in different voting places to cast their votes, and they spoke to me about how this election is very, very important to them, especially what different candidates stand for, the two major candidates, what they stand for in terms of border security, in terms of immigration laws, in terms of healthcare, abortion rights, in terms of education, and most importantly, chief of which is the economy. And they are quite optimistic that wherever their voting line goes to will reflect in the overall vote at the end of the day.
Habida, this is a tight race, and there are conversations about how this will affect the rest of the world. But have you been able to, speak to African Americans in that region, and perhaps there is the possibility of a block vote?
Well, a lot of people are projecting a tie, but it might be less likely. Nobody can say for now. I spoke with an African American who actually told me that this race is more like a race, a racial presidential election. I mean, it's divided along what the blacks want and what the whites want. And of course, it's evidence between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So you definitely know who the blacks might be voting for, and of course, who the whites might be voting for, especially as they spread across different states.
And amidst this, we still have third-party voters. How enthusiastic are some of the voters, especially the third parties that want to, sit out on this or perhaps look into another option?
Well, a lot of people are advocating for different things, as I said earlier, and these things are the thing that propel them to make their choices. There have been early voters who have also made decision before today, and at the end of today, we'll see where the pendulum swings.
All right, Habida, I'll put you on hold. Let's quickly go back to our guest, Boya Kyoku, who is a global affairs